Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'm going to read a little something about Krishna. And actually, everyone is quite crazy. Like, everyone. So, if you're thinking that, like maybe there's something wrong with you or you're like crazy or something, it's not just you. Everyone's crazy. Unless we're glorifying Krishna, we're causing some disturbances. So that's why we're given this mantra, is to keep chanting Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Keep chanting. Because everyone's very crazy. Very crazy. And they don't even realize how crazy they really are. They talk so many things, so much nonsense. So, I have to take shelter of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You have to get a taste for actually vibrating Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, It's so tricky, this illusory energy. It's very tricky. I was just in communication with devotees who are caught up in this conspiracy consciousness. So it's conspiracy consciousness. It's like, their field of psychology, they study these different states of mind. And there's a state of mind called paranoia, and even paranoid schizophrenia, where it's like tuning in to, like if you're watching some entertainment, like maybe TV or a movie or something, and the mood of it is the funny music's playing and it's kind of like this horror movie and it's full of fear and it gets the adrenaline running. If you watch it, it's like all your adrenaline runs and you're put in this state of fear, and it's like So it's like a channel. It's a state of mind, and a consciousness, a taste. You kind of get stuck there, and then everything becomes a conspiracy. Everything. Because living in that atmosphere, and then you see everything as a conspiracy. All the doctors are conspiring, and everyone in the government is bad, and it's like it's just ISKCON. It's no good. It's conspiracy consciousness. They're watching the wrong channel. They don't know how to go to the other channel, the blissful ecstatic one, and they're stuck in the conspiracy consciousness. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. I have a taste for the horror show. Maybe they want to be in a horror show. What is Lance? Lance is here, he's watching. And he says, becomes a conditioning. Yeah, you get stuck, conditioned, yeah. It's like the modes, they take over. Like in the Gita, Krishna explains how the modes of nature, if a mode is predominant, then it rules all the activities, like foods in the mode of passion, foods in the mode of passion, charity in the mode of passion, religion in the mode of passion, work, the way one works, it's in the mode of passion, because they're under a particular mode, and it dominates everything. It's the mode of activity, mode of operation. And then the mode of ignorance, foods in the mode of ignorance, recreation in the mode of ignorance, work in the mode of ignorance, like that. So become conditioned, and the modes, a certain mode will predominate, mode of goodness, passion, ignorance, and it colors everything. The particular mode covers everything, colors everything. It can be mixed, combination, like on a color wheel is what? Red, blue, and yellow, and you can mix them this way and mix them that way, and you got purple and green and 12 million shades of orange, and it's unlimited, the mixing that can go on. But it's all basically being influenced by the modes. I remember I got in the habit of buying the marked down stuff. Well, I didn't have much money. I mean, I had some. This was a few years ago. And so when I'd go in the grocery store, I'd look for they would have like a section of perishables that need to be taken right away. So I was accustomed, everything like that, clothes. I had a little flower business. I would buy the old flowers. I would go to the supermarket. I'd buy things marked down on clearance. This is the kind of mode I was in, just buy the old stuff, So one day I remember I got excited. They had asparagus in the clearance section. I bought a whole bunch of asparagus. And I got sick. I got really sick. I think I got like food poisoning or something. And I said, well, wait a minute. Why am I just buying old stuff like this, So for my flower business, I started buying really good flowers. And the people loved it, and it was fine. It was just a mode that I was in. And so we get like colored by this, and it takes over everything that we do in our life. We're like under this, like you said, like Lance was saying, condition. Yeah. Krishna. So the devotees are chanting Hare Krishna and aspiring for getting beyond the modes, but the tastes are still lingering for a while. the taste for the modes, the taste for the old stuff, the old asparagus, the taste for the food and the mode of passion, it still lingers. And so we keep practicing and practicing, and if we have good association of those that are tasting this higher taste beyond the modes, this taste of Krishna consciousness, then we can develop that taste, get purified. That other stuff, it'll go away. We won't have a taste for it anymore. Hare Kṛṣṇa. So there's a big taste for this conspiracy consciousness, and it's really phenomenal. Like, there's one devotee that told me, and I like them, and we chant Hare Kṛṣṇa, and I've helped them, they've helped me. It's a workable, reasonable friendship in Krishna consciousness, but they have this conspiracy consciousness pretty badly. I mean, it's really infecting everything, so to speak. And they don't want me to come to their house because I got the vaccination, and they're convinced that it was a whole government plot and there's not actually any virus, and it's just a way they're injecting all kinds of things into people, and there's a point where I will be emanating nanoparticles. Wherever I go, I'll be kind of like a radiation thing. I'll be emanating nanoparticles, and I'll be infecting other people with these nanoparticles. Totally bizarre. That's totally bizarre. So they don't, don't come near me. I don't want you in my house, like this, because you're like radioactive. You're going to be emanating these nanoparticles. Hare Krishna. I'm poisonous. I think there's something else going on. I think the fear is actually the fear of Krishna. And they just think that what they're afraid of is nanoparticles. That's not really what they're afraid of. They're actually afraid of Krishna. Hare Krishna. So it's interesting to see how this unfolds in the darkness. Hare Krishna, amongst the devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness but are still stuck with these different things. Like, I was just reading about Dhritarashtra the other day, and how he was fully aware that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, Vishnu, and he had taken his birth in the Yadu dynasty to alleviate the burden of the earth, to remove the disturbing elements, the unqualified leaders who are causing so many problems, demoniac leaders. And so he wasn't an atheist. He understood that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He accepted Krishna as God. But he was attached to his son Duryodhana. And in his conversation with Akrura, they discussed that, and Akrura gave him really good advice. But Dhritarashtra, he said he couldn't follow it, because he knew he had this attachment for his son, and he knew his son was going to be destroyed, because that's what Krishna had come to do. But he couldn't help it. He had this attachment for his son, Duryodhana. So later, when Duryodhana was killed, and all of Dhritarashtra's sons were all killed, and after the Battle of Kurukshetra, all the demoniac rulers were removed, he got some freedom. But that's what it took. He had to have everything taken away from him, and he was living under the care of Yudhisthira, who was kind, pious, even though Dhritarashtra had made Yudhishthira's life so miserable by supporting Duryodhana, who was always trying to kill Yudhishthira and the Pandavas. But now, with nothing, he was living under the care of Yudhishthira, who was the emperor, rightful emperor of the world, and with nothing. Krishna. Eventually, a great saint came, Vidura came, and told Dhritarashtra, look, you're living like a dog in the house of the people that you tried to destroy. You need to do something about this. You're old, you're going to leave at any time. Why don't you go on pilgrimage and make some advancement, So he did. He left home at a very old age. Gandhari went with him, and I think Kunti also went, which was a little surprising. Kunti also went with him. And they went on pilgrimage. And made some advancement. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. So, personally, I have a challenge here to keep in perspective what's happening when I'm associating with devotees who they don't really have quite a taste for hearing and chanting about Krishna yet. They know there's Krishna, but they have all these other attachments and tastes. So it's a little bit of a challenge how to find the nectar there and not get caught up in their stuff. Hare Krishna, because they talk about all kinds of stuff, anything but Krishna. And if they do try to talk about Krishna or the movement, there's always something sour in there. It's not ecstatic or blissful. It's always like a little sour. There's some disappointment or missing the mark. But no, it's just the taste. The taste for actually Krishna isn't strong enough yet. They don't have a strong enough dose. Or they wouldn't do that. Krishna. It means they have a taste for mumbling and grumbling and complaining and finding fault and conspiracies and so my challenge is to plow through all that. I really have a sense of mission. Krishna. Oh God, help me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Whew! Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. I think this has automatic face recognition, this camera. And if I move a certain way, it goes black. So I have to stay like this. So automatic face recognition. Yeah, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, See? Automatic face recognition. Modern technology. So, Krishna. I appreciate the teaching, one of the teachings of Jesus, when they handed him the Roman coin, tax time I think it was, and he said, whose picture is on there? And it was Caesar's picture. So he said, well, it belongs to Caesar, so give it to Caesar. It has this picture on it. Give to Caesar what's Caesar's. So in dealing with the government, Hare Krishna. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and give to God what is God's. So this is the 10th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, summary study by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. And we're going to read something here by His grace, by His Divine Grace. And this is Kṛṣṇa erects the Dvārakā fort. So Akrura has just had his karma. He's been on a mission sent by Kṛṣṇa to see what's going on with the Pandavas. And he's had a conversation with Kunti, and she's in dire distress because Duryodhana and the Kurus, they're constantly making their life miserable and trying to kill them so they can get the kingdom. And Dhritarashtra's no help at all. He's sitting on the throne and he shouldn't even be there. He's blind. You can't have a blind king. So Akrura's had a conversation with Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra's admitted that because of his attachment to his son, he can't follow Kṛṣṇa even though he knows what's going on. It's just his attachment. He's blind in a lot of ways. So Akrura came back and he reported the condition to Kṛṣṇa. Now Kṛṣṇa hears about what's going on there. And chapter 49, Kṛṣṇa erects the Dvārakā fort. So there's going to be some fighting coming, and Kṛṣṇa's no dummy. He's erecting a fort. So here we go. After his death, Kamsa's 2 wives became widows. According to Vedic civilization, a woman is never independent. She has 3 stages of life. In childhood, a woman should live under the protection of her father. A youthful woman should live under the protection of her young husband, and in the event of the death of her husband, she should live either under the protection of her grown-up children, or if she has no grown-up children, she must go back to her father and live as a widow under his protection. It appears that Kamsa had no grown-up sons. After becoming widows, his wives returned to the shelter of their father. Kamsa had 2 queens. One was Asti and the other Prapti, and they both happened to be the daughters of King Jarasandha. Oh boy. Now here's some more enmity building. Asti and Prapti, they're the queens of Kamsa. Kamsa's killed by Kṛṣṇa. They have to go back to their father, Jarasandha. You think he liked that? Oh no. Oh no. Because Kṛṣṇa Balam also killed all of Kamsa's sons. Kṛṣṇa. No, wait a minute. He killed all of his brothers. Okay. Yeah, no. Okay. I think Kamsa had no grown-up sons. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Asti and Prapti. King Jarasandha was their father, the lord of the Bihar province, known in those days as Magadharaj. After reaching home, both queens explained their awkward position following Kamsa's death. The king of Magadha, Jarasandha, was mortified on hearing their pitiable condition due to the slaughter. When informed of the death of Kamsa, Jarasandha decided on the spot that he would rid the world of all the members of the Yadu dynasty. He decided that since Kṛṣṇa had killed Kamsa, the whole dynasty of the Yadus should be killed. Kshatriya spirit gone wrong. he began to make extensive arrangements to attack the kingdom of Mathura. And with his innumerable military phalanxes consisting of many thousands of chariots, horses, elephants, infantry soldiers, Jarasandha prepared 13 such military phalanxes in order to retaliate the death of Kṛṣṇa. Taking with him all his military strength, he attacked the capital of the Yadu kings, Mathura, surrounding it from all directions. Sri Kṛṣṇa, who had appeared as an ordinary human being, saw the immense strength of Jarasandha, which appeared as an ocean about to cover a beach at any moment. He perceived that the inhabitants of Mathura were overwhelmed with fear. He began to think within himself about the situation of his mission as an incarnation and to tackle the present situation before him. His mission was to diminish the overburdened population of the whole world. He took the opportunity of facing so many men, chariots, elephants, and horses. The military strength of Jarasandha had appeared before him, and he decided to kill the entire force of Jarasandha so that they would not be able to go back and again reorganize their military strength. While Lord Kṛṣṇa was thinking in this way, 2 military chariots fully equipped with drivers, weapons, flags, and other implements arrived before him from outer space. Kṛṣṇa saw the 2 chariots present before him. Oh, this face recognition is driving me crazy here. It keeps blacking out. Let's see if that helps. Hare Krishna. No, nothing helps. I have no face. Maybe that. Hope it doesn't fall over. Kṛṣṇa saw the 2 chariots present before him and immediately addressed his attendant, brother, Balaram, who is also known as Shankarshan. My dear elder brother, you are the best among the Aryans. You are the Lord of the universe, and specifically, you are the protector of the Yadu dynasty. The members of the Yadu dynasty sensed great danger before the soldiers of Jarasandha, and they are very much aggrieved. Hare Krishna. Just to give them protection, your chariot is also here, filled with military weapons. I request you, sit down on your chariot and kill all these soldiers, the entire military strength of the enemy. Naturally, both of us have descended on this earth just to annihilate such unnecessary bellicose forces and to give protection to the pious devotees. So, we have the opportunity to fulfill our mission. Please, let us execute it. Thus Kṛṣṇa and Balaram, the descendants of the Gadha king Dasahar, decided to annihilate the 13 military companies of Jarasandha. Kṛṣṇa went upon the chariot on which Dvārakā was the driver, and with a small army, and to the blowing of conch shells, he came out of the city of Mathura. Curiously enough, although the other party was equipped with great military strength, just after hearing the vibration of Krishna's conch shell, their hearts were shaken. When Jarasandha saw both Balaram and Kṛṣṇa, he was a little bit compassionate because both Kṛṣṇa and Balaram happened to be related to him as grandsons. This family tree is grandsons. His daughters, Asti and Prapti, were married to Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa was Devaki's brother. So they weren't like direct grandsons. They were the sons of Kṛṣṇa's sister. Okay, so they're calling him grandsons, but actually. He specifically addressed Kṛṣṇa as Purushottama, so he's related to Kṛṣṇa, meaning the lowest among men. Actually, Kṛṣṇa is known in all Vedic literatures as Purushottama. Now, we called him Purushottama, which means lowest among men, but Kṛṣṇa is known as Purushottama, the highest among men. Jarasandha had no intention of addressing Kṛṣṇa as Purushottama, but great scholars have determined that the true meaning of Purushottama to be one who makes all other personalities go downward. Actually, no one can be equal to or greater than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Jarasandha said, Kṛṣṇa, yeah, maybe there's a way to, thanks Lance, maybe there's a way to turn that off. I'll have to go into settings later and put some time into seeing if I can turn that off. It's just not working. Right, in my favor. Jarasandha said, it will be a great dishonor for me to fight with boys like Kṛṣṇa and Balaram. Because Kṛṣṇa had killed Kamsa, Jarasandha specifically addressed him as the killer of his own relatives. Kamsa had killed so many of his own nephews, yet Jarasandha did not take notice of it. But because Kṛṣṇa had killed his maternal uncle Kamsa, Jarasandha tried to criticize him. That is the way of demoniac dealings. Demons do not try to find their own faults, but they try to find the faults of their friends. Jarasandha also criticized Kṛṣṇa for not being a Kshatriya. Because he was raised by Maharaj Nanda, Kṛṣṇa was not a Kshatriya, but a Vaishya. Vaishyas are generally called Guptas, and the word Gupta can also be used to mean hidden. So Kṛṣṇa was both hidden and raised by Nanda Maharaj. Jarasandha accused Kṛṣṇa of 3 faults: that he killed his own maternal uncle, that he was hidden in his childhood, and that he was not even a Kshatriya. And therefore, Jarasandha felt ashamed to fight with him. Yeah, then it says it's because of the window behind. Yeah, Hare Kṛṣṇa. Probably so. Hare Kṛṣṇa. Let's see if I can't correct it later. Next he turned toward Balaram and addressed him. You, Balaram, if you like, you can fight along with him, and if you have patience, then you can wait to be killed by my arrows. Thus you can be promoted to heaven. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that a Kshatriya can become benefit in 2 ways while fighting. If a Kshatriya gains victory in the fight, he enjoys the results of victory. But even if he is killed in the fight, he's promoted to the heavenly planets. It's interesting because Arjuna, he declined to fight, and one of his arguments was, what good is, I don't want the earthly kingdom, I don't care about that, and I don't want a heavenly kingdom either, so why fight? So Kshatriyas, they fight because, that's their nature and their duty, and if they're killed in the fight, they go to the heavenly planets, and if they win, they enjoy the heavenly, the earthly goods. So, but for Arjuna, it was like, well, I don't care about a kingdom here, because fighting means killing all my relatives, so what kind of kingdom is that? And I don't want to go to the heavenly planets either. He didn't want to go there either. So, yeah, I can see his dilemma in terms of Kshatriyaism. After hearing Jarasandha speak in that way, Kṛṣṇa answered, My dear King Jarasandha, those who are heroes do not talk much. Rather, they show their prowess. Because you are talking much, it appears that you are assured of your death in this battle. We do not care to hear you any more, because it is useless to hear the words of a person who is going to die or who is very distressed. In order to fight with Kṛṣṇa, Jarasandha surrounded him from all sides with great military strength, and the sun appeared covered by the cloudy air and dust. Similarly, Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Sun, was covered by the military strength of Jarasandha. Kṛṣṇa's and Balaram's chariots were marked with the pictures of Garuda and palm trees. The women of Mathura were all standing on the tops of the houses and palaces and gates to see the wonderful fight. But when Kṛṣṇa's chariot was surrounded by Jarasandha's military force, they became so frightened that some of them fainted. Kṛṣṇa saw himself overwhelmed by the military strength of Jarasandha. His small number of soldiers were being harassed by them, so he immediately took up his bow named Kṛṣṇa. He began to take his arrows from their case, and one after another he set them on the bowstring and shot them toward the enemy. They were so accurate that the elephants, horses, infantry soldiers of Jarasandha were quickly killed. The incessant arrows thrown by Kṛṣṇa appeared as a whirlwind of blazing fire, killing all the military strength of Jarasandha. As Kṛṣṇa released his arrows, gradually all the elephants began to fall down, their heads severed by the arrows. Similarly, all the horses fell, and the chariots also, along with their flags. The chariot fighters and the chariot drivers fell as well. Almost all of the infantry soldiers fell on the field of battle, their heads, hands, and legs cut off. In this way, many thousands of elephants and horses were killed, and their blood began to flow, just like the waves of a river. In that river, the severed arms of the men appeared to be snakes, their heads appeared to be tortoises, and the dead bodies of the elephants appeared to be small islands. The dead horses appeared to be sharks. By the arrangement of the Supreme Will, there was a great river of blood filled with paraphernalia. The hands and legs of the infantry soldiers were floating like seaweed, and the floating bows of the soldiers appeared to be the waves of the river. And all the jewelry from the bodies of the soldiers and commanders appeared to be so many pebbles flowing down the river of blood. Wow. Hare Krishna. Lord Balaram, who is also known as Shankarshan, began to fight with his club in such a heroic way that the river of blood created by Kṛṣṇa overflooded. Those who were cowards became very much afraid upon seeing the ghastly and horrible scene, and those who were heroes began to talk delightedly among themselves about the heroism of the two brothers. Although Jarasandha was equipped with a vast ocean of military strength, the fighting of Lord Kṛṣṇa and Balaram converted the whole situation into a ghastly scene which was far beyond ordinary fighting. Persons of ordinary mind cannot estimate how it could be possible, but when such activities are accepted as the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, under whose will everything is possible, then this can be understood. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is creating, maintaining, and dissolving the cosmic manifestation by His will only. For Him to create such a vast scene of devastation while fighting with an enemy is not so wonderful. And yet, because Kṛṣṇa and Balaram were fighting with Jarasandha just like ordinary human beings, the affair appeared to be wonderful. They appeared like ordinary human beings. So God, He can kill an ocean and heads floating, and God can do that. But when He appears as an ordinary human being and He does that, Hare Krishna. That's what threw the demigods off. That's like what Indra couldn't understand. That's what Lord Brahma was like. But then they realized Krishna displayed his awesomeness. So a similar thing here. It looks like an ordinary person, but Hare Krishna. All the soldiers of Jarasandha were killed, and he was the only one left alive. He was the only one left alive. Certainly he became very depressed at this point. Sri Balaram immediately arrested him, just as with great strength one lion captures another lion. But while Lord Balaram was binding Jarasandha with the rope of Varuna, and ordinary ropes also, Lord Kṛṣṇa, with a greater plan in mind for the future, asked him not to arrest him. Jarasandha was then released by Kṛṣṇa. As a great fighting hero, Jarasandha became very much ashamed, and he decided that he would no longer live as a king, but would resign from his position in the royal order, go to the forest to practice meditation under severe austerities and penances. As he was returning home with other royal friends, however, they advised him not to retire, but to regain strength to fight again with Kṛṣṇa in the near future. The princely friends of Jarasandha began to instruct him that ordinarily it would not have been possible for him to have been defeated by the strength of the Yadu kings. But the defeat which he had experienced was simply due to his ill luck. The princely order encouraged King Jarasandha. His fighting, they said, was certainly heroic, therefore he should not take his defeat very seriously, as it was due only to his past mistakes. After all, there was no fault in his fighting. In this way, Jarasandha, the king of Magadha province, having lost all his strength and having been insulted by his arrest and subsequent release, could do nothing but return to his kingdom. Thus, Lord Kṛṣṇa conquered the soldiers of Jarasandha. Although Krishna's army was tiny in comparison to Jarasandha's, not a pinch of his strength was lost, whereas all of Jarasandha's men were killed. Hare Krishna. Of course, the demigods are watching this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. At that time, the denizens of heaven became very pleased and began to offer their respects by chanting in glorification of the Lord and by showering him with flowers. They accepted the victory with great appreciation. Jarasandha returned to his kingdom, and Mathura city was made safe from the danger of an imminent attack. The citizens of Mathura organized their combined services of a circus of professional singers like suttas, magadhas, and poets who could compose nice songs, and they began to chant the victory glorification of Lord Kṛṣṇa. When Lord Kṛṣṇa entered the city after the victory, many bugles, conches, kettle drums were sounded, and the vibrations of various musical instruments like bera, turiya, veena, flute, and mridanga all joined together to make a beautiful reception. While Kṛṣṇa was entering, the whole city was very much cleansed. All the different streets and roads were sprinkled with water, and the inhabitants, being joyous, decorated their respective houses, roads, and shops with flags and festoons. The Brahmanas chanted Vedic mantras at numerous places. The people constructed road crossings, entrances, lanes, and streets. When Lord Kṛṣṇa was entering the nicely decorated city of Mathura in a festive attitude, the ladies and girls of Mathura prepared different kinds of flower garlands to make the ceremony more auspicious. In accordance with the Vedic custom, they took yogurt mixed with freshly grown green grass and began to strew it here and there to make the victory jubilation even more auspicious. As Kṛṣṇa passed through the street, all the ladies and women began to regard him with great affection. Kṛṣṇa and Balaram carried various kinds of booty, ornaments and jewels, carefully collected from the battlefield, and presented them to King Ugrasena. Kṛṣṇa thus offered his respect to his grandfather, because he was at that time the crowned king of the Yadu dynasty. So then it continues, because Jarasandha doesn't quit there. He reorganizes, and he attacks again. So, but that's what happened after that first battle. Hare Krishna. Wow. Yeah. Wow, quite an event. I was thinking about Narottam. I was thinking about Chaitanya Bhagavat by Vrindavan Das Thakur, and I remember reading it a while ago, and he describes that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu marched on the Qazi's house, because the Qazi had broken the Mridanga, many people came in an angry mood to support the Lord going to the house of the Qazi. And the way Vrindavan Das describes it, that there were so many people, he didn't know where they were all carrying torches. He didn't know where they were coming from. He said there were millions, and it was like an ocean of people coming, devotees marching on the Qazi's house. And there weren't that many people in Navadvip at the time. He didn't know where they were coming from. It was a vast ocean of people to take part in the pastime of marching on the Qazi's house for disturbing Sankirtan. So wherever Krishna is always something kind of extraordinary. He appears like an ordinary person, so that these affectionate dealings can take place. Yeah, it appears as an ordinary person, and there can be ordinary affectionate dealings. They're not ordinary, but he's not ordinary. And when he does something, it's incredible. Like this fighting with Jarasandha and killing all the soldiers, and this ocean of blood, and everybody's arms and legs cut off, and he only had a tiny military force, and he and Balaram and his tiny military force just destroyed this vast army of soldiers surrounding Mathura. So much so that all the animals were all killed, everyone. It was like a mass destruction. So much so that there was a river of blood. It was actually flowing. Kṛṣṇa. He appeared like an ordinary person. So it is interesting, Prabhupada, in the purport, Prabhupada says, for God to do something like that, then it's not so wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful, but he's God, he can do it. But when Krishna is appearing as an ordinary person and he does it, well, I mean, come on, like lifting Govardhan Hill, he's appearing like a little child, like 6 years old, and he's lifting an entire hill, a small mountain actually, and having everybody climb under it. So for God to do that, well, God can do anything, but Krishna, a little boy, Krishna. So, yeah, we're really fortunate to be able to approach God like this. Kṛṣṇa, Chaitanya, Nityananda. There you go. Oh, Sukada, Haribol, Hare Krishna. I was just reading a little bit from Krishna book. Hare Krishna.